All right. Well, welcome everyone. Welcome to my second presentation. The first one was rather short. This one is going to be a little bit longer, but hopefully it's going to be useful for you, because this presentation really is to teach you, to show you some of my life story that really changed my life the last 5 years. And as many of you know, my angle into the space industry is social media. Social media is what got me involved in space. Social media is what got me involved with many of you guys. And by sharing my story, I would like you to become more part of this awesome social media space community. So first of all, this is me. This is the virtual me. There's a real me that you see here, and there's a virtual me on social media. And when I talk about social media, I'm a space tweep. I talk about Twitter. I also use Facebook and Google Plus and YouTube and one or two others, but I'm really a space tweep, meaning I talk about Twitter a lot. So this is me on Twitter. If you're not following me yet, I'm Timmermans R on Twitter. So please follow me to learn about all my thoughts about space. But this talk is really meant to explain what social media is and what social media does for those of you that may not be familiar with the value that social media brings to the space community at large. And I'll start with the beginning. In the beginning, people that do not use social media, they have their ideas about what it is. Social media is a waste of time. It's like watching television. It's like people see it as playing on the computer without really doing something. Some people think that social media are addictive, they're dangerous, and you lose contact with the real world. Your friends are in your computer, as you see here, and what I'm hoping to convince you of is that virtual friends and real friends can really be the same thing. I mean, even the past couple of days we've had discussions among each other about how much we value the relationship that we have, albeit 90% of the time virtual, but how much that brings to also to our real life. And the difference between real versus virtual friends, if you use social media the way, at least that I do and that many of us here do, there is no difference between real and virtual friends. Virtual friends are real friends. And remember, social media, it's not about media. This is not about using your computer to, I don't know, some kind of a hobby. No, social media is about social. Social media is about people, people connecting to people. And social media is really a way to get in touch with people that you would normally, in real life, out on the street, maybe not get in touch with that easily. Especially if you have a rare hobby like space, maybe. Anyways, why would anyone want to use social media? As I said, there's a community in social media that you do not get easily in touch with in real life. The community, the social part, is really the most critical part. And whether it's Twitter, whether it's Facebook, whether it's YouTube, whether it's anything listed here, or whether it's a combination of all of them, because what I saw with myself, again, this is the story of my life in a way. I use all of these, and it's the combination that makes it really rich. And you meet different people maybe on different platforms, or you meet them in a different way on different platforms, and it really adds up to this community feeling. And this community really is what the value of social media brings, not just to us as individuals, but also to the industry. And I'll talk about that slightly later on. Actually, I'll talk about that now, because this is not just about you, but this is also about the space community. And the space community is anyone interested in space, be it space enthusiasts, be it space professionals. The space community is about people interested in space professionally or not professionally. It doesn't matter. And social media is a way to share your enthusiasm, your excitement about space, but also to support the space industry. So we've seen Chris Hadfield doing really great things with social media, and with his efforts on social media, he really enlarged the space community, and he really enlarged interest worldwide in space. So summarizing, why is social media important for space? Well, there's two elements that I both explained. There's the element, the value that it has for you as a person, because it enables you to be part of a worldwide community that is there, that is out there, and that is very easy to get in touch with through social media. We all live in different countries. There's 21 countries, I think, participating in this event. And those borders, those distances on social media in the virtual world really don't matter. You can be in touch with each other every day and share your excitement with your new friends, with your existing friends, etc. But it's not just a value to you. Very important factor that I tend to really emphasize is the value that this community has, or should have, to help the space industry in your country. To help the industry, be it agencies, be it the commercial side of the space sector in your country. They depend on your support in order to be able to develop. If you look at ESA and the national space agencies, they really depend on public support in order to do their job. If we help them promote space activities, they get better known, and then they get more political support, which in turn leads to more support, more money, etc. Not just in your country, but ultimately in the whole world. And it's my opinion that this space community, that we in this room, we in the virtual community around us, tens of thousands of people that are active on social media or are not yet active on social media, and we'll talk about that in a minute, they are really important to help agencies like ESA, our kind hosts here, to do the stuff that we're seeing the whole day in the future. Go out to Mars, go out to different planets, etc. So, back to you. How does this thing work? Well, social media, as I said, is all about social. It's not so much about media. The media part is easy. It's a little technical thing, but there are companies out there on the internet that make it really simple for you. It's about being social. So if you're a social person, and I don't know many people who are not a social person, and the fact that I don't know them is probably the reason for that. But if you're social, if you go out with friends in daily life, that's really what you need to be. And it's simple. You don't need to be different online than you are offline. Be yourself. Create a free Twitter account. It takes about 5 seconds. If you have an email address, you can create a Twitter account. It's free, and become active. And that part is really critical. And that part is the difficult part. And that part takes some getting used to. There's a few stages in getting a tool like Twitter. And I'm talking about Twitter, but it's the same for Facebook, it's the same for Google+, it's the same for any platform, and it doesn't really matter. Each platform has its purpose. But if we're focusing on Twitter, it usually starts from denial. And I'm pretty sure there's people in this room that will think that are still at stage 0, the denial stage. Twitter is not useful, it doesn't add any value, it's stupid. I've heard that people only talk about going to the toilet and mentioning their coffee breaks. That's a signal that you're really in stage 0, if you like. So what you do is you go through these stages, and the print is way too small, but you start with denial, and a few months later, or a few years later, or a few weeks later, really depends, you'll get addicted somehow. And addicted in a good way. Because people talk about social media addiction often with a very negative connotation. You're addicted to drugs or cigarettes or alcohol and social media. It's all called in the same thing. I don't agree. I'm addicted to social media, absolutely. I will check my Twitter at 3 a.m. in the morning if I happen to wake up. I watched the launch last night because I saw it on Twitter at 2:30 this morning. That's what social media does to you. It is kind of addictive, but it's a good, in a good way, because it means that you're in social circles the whole day. It's the stages of getting Twitter, and it will take time. And I encourage you, if you are active or if you're not active yet on Twitter, to give it time. I mean, my first months on Twitter, my first half year, 6, 7 months, I just watched, like, once in a while to see if there's something interesting, looking for interesting people to follow and see what was going on, before I started to interact. And interacting is really the critical stage at which you start getting involved, etc. So, how to start with Twitter? And this is, if you don't have a Twitter account, these are important rules, but also if you already have a Twitter account, you are getting active, these are some basics in order to be a successful tweep in general. Not just a space tweep, but a tweep in general. And a tweep is someone active on Twitter, of course. So select a good Twitter name. Again, keeping in mind that you are a person. You're not representing something fictitious. No, you're representing yourself. So you should pick a name that suits you. It can be a real name, can be a nickname, doesn't matter, but it should represent you, not something that is fake. Because again, this is all about real people having real friendships, having real interactions. Fill out your real bio. I mean, don't lie, don't say you're the president of whatever country while you're not, unless you are. But be realistic. Again, represent yourself, be a real person. Fill out the place where you live. Don't say you live on Mars. There's quite a few people that do, or say you live on planet Earth, but be a little bit more specific and don't be worried about indicating where you live. Use a good avatar picture. I like to think that by putting in my real picture, people get a better impression, but it's okay to use something else, but use something that suits you. And I must say, I use my real picture. I don't think I look very different than on my avatar picture. And it helps building a network in real life. People recognize you, which is nice. And do not lock your account. I mean, you can have a locked Twitter account, meaning that you have to, that people can't see your tweets, it's not public. I don't really like that, in the sense that it makes it much more difficult. You put up barriers for other people to get in touch with you. And again, there's nothing to be afraid of on Twitter, because if people start being abusive, you just kick them out. Especially on Twitter, that's really, really easy to filter out everything that you don't like. Just make sure you don't see it. But in all of these beginner's tips, the critical thing is be yourself, be a person, be a real person. Again, social media is about real people having real interactions. So just as an example, how many of those bios and those Twitter handles to the left do you see? Well, you see how successful this one is. Might be a new one, I don't know. But this is an incomplete one. To the right one is someone who taught me social media skills. She's not involved in space at all, but this is a social media person in the Netherlands that I really like. She has a really good, she sets a really good example of a complete bio with a picture that actually looks like her, using her real name and being really interactive. So, how to go through these first phases. Phases 0, phases 1, whatever you want to call it. It's really simple. So you start by following a few space tweets. And I have a few examples just later on, some suggestions who you might follow. And just listen in for a few weeks. See what these people have to say. See what these people do. See who they talk to. See what they tweet about. And also see what they don't tweet about. I'm following quite a few people, and I never see people tweeting about their coffee breaks or other breaks that I don't want to know about. The next stage, which is really an important one, is start to participate in a conversation. And you can try that out with people that you know in real life. I mean, there's people in your street, in your area, at work that you know, and just try how it works to have a conversation. Try to interact with people on Twitter. Retweet a few things. Things that you like, that you see other people tweeting about, just retweet them. Because that is saying that, hey, I agree with what you're saying, or I like what you're saying, or I think this is an important message to spread, whether I agree or not. That's something you do. And try a few DMs. DMs are really good to have one-to-one connections with people. A DM, sorry, is a direct message where you can have one-to-one conversations with your followers. And just try it out. Try it out with people that you know and see how it works. Get a feel for the technology. And again, the technology is not complicated, but you just have to know. And then try a few replies. A reply is when you hit the reply button on a tweet and you answer someone. Someone asks a question, give an answer. Someone has an opinion, respond to it, say, I agree, I disagree, whatever. But try to have this interaction. And don't worry if you don't know the person in real life, because that's really where the neat things start happening, is that you start engaging conversations with people that you don't know in real life, but that share some of your interest. And very important, I mean, the most important one is at the bottom. Don't be someone else. Just be yourself. Respond like you would respond in real life, and be nice. I mean, there's a lot of abuse on the internet, we all know. It's in the media all day. Don't participate in that stuff. I mean, be yourself. Don't treat people differently online as you would treat them offline. Unless you're really abusive offline, then... Anyways. Remember, you're a person. You're talking to real people on Twitter. So what about the community? Because this is really when the cool things start happening. And I'll share some of the things that happened to me over the past 4 years. Again, I started in social media only 4 years ago, and it dramatically, very dramatically changed my life. I'm not saying that should happen to you. It's a personal choice, but I choose to let these things happen. Because once you become part of this online space community, all kinds of things may happen to you. And as a warning, it may even change your life. And this is something that I heard when I joined my first event, my first TweetUp event. A TweetUp is a meeting of people that are on Twitter. I mean, in a way, it's not a TweetUp, but since there's so many people on Twitter here, this is something like a TweetUp. You see people typing the whole time, tweeting things out. It's a combination between Twitter and a real-life meeting. So when I joined my first event, they were saying, before I joined, remember, this may change your life. I got an email from, it was a NASA organized event. They say, this may change your life. And me, critical, Dutch, down to earth, not believing all that stuff, saying, yeah, sure, I'm going to watch a launch and then I'm going to go home and I'm going to be really happy. But what I found is attending a launch is awesome. Meeting all these new people is much more awesome. And that is what changed my life. Not that space shuttle that went up and was gone in a few minutes. No, it was spending days and days with people that shared the same excitement. And these are just examples of the stuff that happened. I mean, I was one of the organizers together with a few people in the room, Alex and Yo. One of the people that brought SpaceUp to Europe only about 6 months ago. But SpaceUp is, and that's the reason why I'm showing it here, because this is SpaceUp. SpaceUp is a global movement that only started 3 years ago. This is brand new. It's an experiment that Chris Radcliffe, that you saw in the very first 60 Seconds to Land video, initiated just because he had the same interest as all of us do. And he started a global movement without the intention of starting a global movement, but he did. I mean, we're now having this event here. That's all because of his little experiment. NASA started organizing tweet-ups or social events a few years ago, and then in 2011, ESA decided, together with the DLR, to experiment with the same concept in Europe. And now they have the Space Tweet-Up series. There's been a few in the past couple of years, all extremely successful, if you ask me, especially in bringing these people together and by sharing special things, having them interact with engineers in a similar way that we do here today, is really a way for the agencies and for the industry to interact with this community and use this community as they like. Because, hey, social media got me onto the zero-G plane. That's the type of things that I'd never expected 4 years ago to happen to me. It got me, as I said, to a shuttle launch. 1 million people attended STS-135, and guess who was sitting front row? It was Brigitte, it was Kate, it was me, there was a few other people here in the room, but there were 150 people specially selected for that. That's the stuff that can happen to you. That's the stuff that, as I say, change your life because of being active on social media. So there will be more events. I mean, I started, me being me, I'm an organizer. And if someone asks me, oh, it would be really cool to go to Baikonur for a launch, I would like that. I'm the type of guy that says, well, if you want to do that, just do it and I'll organize it. So that's my talk this morning. I took people here a few months ago. I'm an Arctic explorer by profession. I see auroras every winter. Thought, oh, it would be really cool to share this experience with others, and I make it a tweet up, publish it on social media, and people join. You've seen me using all these hashtags. We have a hashtag SpaceUp today. Hashtag is just a way in Twitter to highlight a topic. You may use it to find new people to follow, track events, etc., like we're doing today. And you can run all kinds of cool statistics on that stuff. This is really the stuff that is important for social media managers, not for users, but this is what you can do with social media, is you can really measure the effect that an event has. What I'll do, because I'm running out of time, which is probably fine, I'm going to share this presentation because the remainder of this presentation is really a few suggestions to get you started, who I think you should follow to get you started on Twitter and to really get you involved in this space community. There's people on here, there's agencies and industry. I mean, ESA is on Twitter, NASA's on Twitter, there's quite a few. Communities around astronauts, around events, and I hope to see you on Twitter. Thank you.
So it's time to move on to the next room. I'm sorry there's no time for questions to Remco, or at least not right now, but of course you can catch Remco at the pause, or you will be able to catch him at the dinner tonight also, and tomorrow also. But I'm sorry we do not have time for questions now, so here in this room, if you remain in this room, you have Kate who's going to talk about Chris Hadfield. Was he a one-off? Yes? Then in room B, you have a session about startups in space. And in room C, you have a discussion about cluster management of a software thing I didn't understand. I'm sorry, but it sounds very interesting for developers. It's on already. Instant. Maybe you have to put a presentation, or you do not have a presentation? It's okay.
Straight off. It's part of the same presentation.
Perfect.
Right. Okay, hello. Is anybody going to leave? Because if you do, you could do it now. And if you do it in a few minutes, I'm just going to be really offended. So hello, I'm Space Kate, and following on from Remco's talk, I'd just like to echo what he said. Twitter can change your life. You can be addicted. Because of Twitter, I have had several job offers. I've been to see a shuttle launch. I've had lunch with an astronaut. And I had a photograph I took of a fox on the London Underground go viral and earn me enough money to buy my laptop. So there you go. Twitter is good. Also, while we're on the subject of Twitter, Chris Hadfield is on Twitter, and he's a bit of a legend. Or I think so. Let's just check. We've all been sitting around in this massive room for quite a long time, and it's probably a while till we have coffee again, so I just want to check you're all still alive. Who in this room knows who Chris Hadfield is? If you'd like to just put your hand up. Okay. Who in this room does not know who Chris Hadfield is? Okay, those people over there are apparently dead because you didn't raise your hand at any point. Do you want to just wave to make sure that you are prove you're alive? No, they're dead. Okay, the bit of movement, this is good. So, Chris Hadfield is the Canadian astronaut who's just come back from space. Here he is, in space. He's the one on the right-hand side, and he sent me this photograph from space. I think he's a bit special because I've met him, and he's just a really very, very nice guy. And he's managed to get so many people excited about space through sharing his photographs, his tweets, his singing, his humor, and videos on how to cry in space, which was kind of strange. If you haven't seen that, I recommend it. There's no gravity, so the tears don't fall down. They just create a big blob of water around your eye. It's a bit spooky. But because of Chris Hadfield, my granny, who is 91 in fact now, her local friends in the south of England keep ringing her up because Chris Hadfield's pictures made it into the Brighton Evening Argus, which is a very small local paper, and all of her friends ring her up and say, hang on, you like space, and there's your spaceman, and he's taken a picture. Now, I think that's kind of incredible outreach. If you can get a bunch of octo and nonagenarians in the south of England excited about space, then I think you're doing something right. But is he a one-off? He's not the only astronaut that's been on Twitter. We know that. So what was the tipping point? Why did he get so popular? I just saw somebody made this graphic for him today and tweeted it out. Chris Hadfield exploring the universe and rocking a killer moustache since 1995. So is it because he has an amazing moustache? Is it because the Canadian Space Agency have been supporting his activity? Is it because his son works in marketing? What is it that Chris Hadfield has, and what can we learn from him? So, like I said, I'm just checking that you are alive because I actually wanted you to interact a little bit in this session. So I want you to feed back to me if you have any thoughts about, tell me, why did you follow his mission? What was it that he brought you? And did your grannies hear about space? So photographs are a good one. Okay. Speaking of photographs, can I have a little space geek boast?
I think he's a unique person. You have the feeling that he's just someone like us, and just sitting around there in the ISS taking pictures.
So he's real. He's a photographer.
He's kind of he's, even though I've experienced that most astronauts tweeting, they start to respond. They start to take ideas from other people and not just using it as a one-off channel. So he's actually discussing and reacting. That makes him human.
Interaction. That's a good one. Okay, one over here. So we do have a vote for the moustache there. Before Chris came back home, this is my little boast. I'm sorry. I'm excited. I think he's great. I told him that I wasn't going to sleep until I saw him safely on the ground, smiling. And he landed UK time at like 3:30 in the morning on a Monday. And I emailed him and said, look, if you could manage a smile, if you could do a thumbs up, I'd be really pleased. He landed. Look at that. And he emailed me the next day to say, did you see the thumbs up? That's what's great about Chris Hadfield. He is a real, genuinely nice person. So what I'm hoping, from him singing Major Tom to our very own British astronaut Major Tim, who has quite a lot of work on his hands because he's our first ESA astronaut. And I don't know if you heard, we're very excited. He just got selected to fly a mission in 2015. The UK Space Agency, they're an interesting bunch. I'm not sure that they understand the power of outreach in the same way that NASA and ESA and we do. And we need to somehow give them some tips. And I just want to make sure that when Tim goes to space, we don't waste that opportunity to get the whole of the UK excited about space, the politicians excited about space, and hopefully funding it again. Because I'm really sorry to everybody else in other member states at ESA. well, we haven't funded human spaceflight until this most recent ministerial council. And I've always been so embarrassed to come to these great events and be like, I'm really sorry, our country doesn't fund that because it doesn't bring us money. It doesn't bring us, stuff back. But now we have Tim, and we've paid some money, finally. How best should we use him? Can we make him into a Chris Hadfield? What would you like to see him do? I have heard that he can play the guitar, but his singing is apparently terrible. That was pretty much the first thing that he was asked, because he got selected a week after Chris Hadfield came back from space. And as soon as they said, "Oh right, we've got Major Tim," like, brilliant. Can you sing like Chris Hadfield? And he was like, "No, not really." What else?
Well, he seems to start liking to tweet now, because before I think he wasn't so much into tweeting, right? Because he was the last one of the shenanigans to join Twitter, and he said, well, I'm too old for this. So I think it's important to first convince him that it's really, that people want to hear about what he has to say, and that it's not boring like he might maybe think, and that using Twitter is actually a way to get a lot of attention. So it's not about what would we like him to do. First step I think is to make him understand also his position that he has and the power that he would actually have to bring people together, to get people interested in space and so forth.
Okay, so following on from Remco's talk then, if you haven't already signed up to Twitter, can you please sign up to Twitter? And maybe the first tweet that you send should be to @_Tim Peake. Right? We could all do this right now. All send him a tweet saying, we love hearing from astronauts and we want to make sure we hear more from you. If we all do that, I'm sure he'll reply. That would be good. Any other ideas? Yeah, okay.
Sorry, me?
Yeah, I was going to say don't forget to press your button, but you have, so.
Okay. What I'd like to see, and this is more thinking back to the fact he should be a good role model for children in Britain, is I'd like to see the UK Space Agency work together with our media in the UK so that before Tim goes up, he gets featured in news, programming, gets to explain to everyone in the UK what science he's going to be doing when he's up there and why it's important to be doing that science, so that by the time he actually launches, people know who he is and why he's going up there.
I see we have somebody from ESA Communications here. Tim is always very good at saying that he's not a British astronaut, but he is an ESA astronaut, a European astronaut, and that, really it shouldn't matter which country you're from at all, because space is a global endeavor. What kind of support can you give him? Sorry, putting you on the spot massively.
First, we are delighted, and those of you who have been connecting with the ESA website, you have seen the announcement. His announcement has been a major success in the UK. We worked with the UK Space Agency in the press conference that took place on Monday. He had been received by Prime Minister Cameron. The guy is, voilà, when you see him, and I invite you to see the pictures that we have posted. That means one of them is on the highlights on the portal. Him seated in a quite very polite mode in front of Cameron, etc. You find that the guy has an enormous potential because he's close to us. I think he has this Chris Hadfield approach. Then we have a marvelous opportunity with him, also because, as you say, the UK, who has been in a certain sense for us, is a country who has an enormous industrial and intellectual and scientific potential, was a little bit shy towards ESA. And I think in the last years, Minister Villets in particular has understood extremely well the importance of space, and I think the UK is coming back with an enormous strength, and Tim has a major potential in front of him. What are we doing to help him? Of course, we are We are supporting him. He went there accompanied by our communication people. Of course, little by little, he is paying attention. I think the tweets that we are going to send him will even more activate him in that domain. Well, I think also, what is also very interesting is that all the class, the 2009 class, they have a particular name that I have forgotten. They are, voilà, they have all, I think it's important that at the same time that we announced that that team had been proposed or had been assigned to a mission, the two remaining astronauts of the class, that means Thomas Pesquet and Morgensen, the Danish astronaut, they are going also to be assigned very quickly, so that by the end of 2017, all the astronauts of that class will have their mission assigned. I think this is also a victory for ESA, and it's a victory for our member states. I think this domain is for us very important in terms of getting what you're discussing here: outreach, presence, connecting with mummies in the south of England and in the south of Spain, etc., etc. I think this is a marvelous domain.
And is there anything that the people around here, other than tweeting @_Tim Peake, Sorry, I'm really tired. See, I told you I needed to check where everybody was awake and alive. That was mainly for my benefit. So, @astro_Tim Peake. There you go, with an E on the end. Other than that, what can we do to help ESA to promote him and all of the astronauts from ESA?
To this ESA is what Remco was saying: be yourself and do what you have to do. I think is this. I think to help ESA is continuing having your enormous interest in space, communicating, creating, and talk about about space in general. For us, it's simply that, and this is the reason why we are. And one of the tweets I read today of someone here in the meeting was very interesting. He was saying, "Look, ESA is the first time that a SpaceUp takes place in a space agency." Offices or facility. I think we are also proud to be the first who give this possibility, because I think it's very much in accordance with our DNA: cooperation, openness, and allowing that the society plays its role as they have to play. Then we are here simply supporting.
Does anybody here think there's a danger? Like, we are all very addicted to space. We're all quite engaged. How do we stop it becoming an echo chamber of just people who are already engaged? Like, I mean, Chris was amazing because, like I said, he was not the first astronaut that was out on social media, but he was the one that seems to have broken through. However he did it, he got through to, like I say, my granny, and, you know, people would tell me, oh, you like space? Oh, do you know this person? I'm like, well, of course I know this person, but how do we reach those other people?
Yeah, I can respond to that. I mean, one of the things that Chris did really, really well was show to people the impact on them personally, make it personal. He showed people what their cities looked like from above. When he was flying over whatever capital city, he took pictures and he tweeted and say hello to everybody in Washington, Beijing, Moscow, Paris, London, wherever, where the cities that he overflew. And I also think that's the effect of the song. Music, there's many more people interested in music. I mean, I hardly know anyone that is not interested in music, one way or another. So by playing this very well-known song and doing it very professionally and promoting it very professionally, people recognize that. People say, oh yeah, that song is about space. Wow, and now it's sung from space and by a good singer. And it touched people that are interested in music through music, not through space, not through rocket science, but through music. And music is a way to bring people with a very mild space message. You reach people that are not primarily interested in space, but primarily interested in other things, but you reach them with a space message and saying, hey, space is cool, and then they follow him on Twitter, or they see the other videos that Chris did, because as soon as the song is over, you see all the other videos in the playlist, the one where he cried, that got quite a few hits, probably also because of this, of reaching out to people through music. So it is really, to my opinion, how do you make it personal? How do you show people really the benefits of space to them personally, individually? And I think Hadfield did an awesome job. There's a few other examples. Mike Messamino in NASA. He's the astronaut with the most followers on Twitter. 1.5 million, I think, at the moment. He does the same. You see him on all the television stations, doing science communication in a funny way. You see Ron Guerin with his Fragile Oasis, with more an environmental message, reaching out to people with primarily an environmental interest. So I think that's really the key to success, and I'm happy to hear from you that ESA is supporting them. But that's really the way to reach people outside this community, is to make it personal and look at interests that you could use.
Yes, and I think also is that there is a very, very important that astronauts, and NASA does it very well, astronauts should not be limited to talk about what they do in space, their missions, and they have to also be broader in their, is when an astronaut is able to talk about other areas, other domains, even not space, is when this person automatically takes a different, another relevance. And I would like to clarify that our astronauts, we call them, for example, the case of Tim. Tim is an ESA astronaut of British nationality. I think this is the denomination. Paolo Nespoli is an ESA astronaut of Italian nationality. That means because the nationality is very important for an astronaut, because in a certain sense it's a symbol both of Europe, but also very important, both a symbol for his country, for his fellow citizens. I think we maintain this duality, and it works extremely well.
So how many of you in here, just talking about making things real, to me, I've gone through this strange process of looking at rockets and thinking, oh, that's quite cool, and then being there to watch astronauts launching on a shuttle and thinking, oh, astronauts on a rocket, that's quite cool, to then knowing an astronaut who was on top of a Soyuz, which was Paolo Nespoli, and watching the live stream of that and thinking, oh, that's not an astronaut, that is a real person, that's my friend, and he's sitting on top of a whole lot of rocket fuel and someone's about to light it. That suddenly becomes real. But not everybody is in that amazing position to have met an astronaut or to have heard from astronauts like we have today. So how do we make that real for other people? I mean, I go into shops and I talk to shop assistants about how long it takes to get to orbit, but what are your ideas?
I think it's through social media. Social media has broken down this barrier. We can now talk to our favorite musicians, we can talk to our favorite actors and actresses, you know, through social media. And it's the fact that, because before, people think of space as something that is happening, but it's not happening here. It happens, but it's far away from us. And this whole social media that's broken down the barriers to communications has made it so much easier for us to talk to someone. And it's the way a fan club works. If you go and meet your favorite pop star and you get to talk to him, you're going to love him more. And because people were able to talk to Chris Hadfield and they were able to get responses from him, it was like talking to a real person. They are literally talking to real people, not just like talking to nothing. You were actually talking to someone and you were getting a response back, and this generates loyalty, this generates familiarity, this makes you love them more. That's how it works. And I think for our people to talk or to connect with or to learn more about space or about astronauts, this is the best way to go about it, through social media, or at least through broken down barriers of communication that allow us to connect with people that aren't necessarily next to us or even on this planet.
Yes, I actually love it, Remco, and also with you. And I really think it's possible to Skype with people in space. And maybe also stay close to the people on Earth. And maybe also, like music, make arts or make some things about your fascination when you are there. I think that's really good to continue. Thank you. Okay.
But I think it's also a personality question. Maybe not every astronaut is really prepared to have all this love and attention, having thrown that at him. But we need to, our job is to take this fear, if we can call it such, to take it away from them and also show them, okay, it's okay that you're more famous now than you were before, because you're doing a good thing, you're doing an important thing, and don't be afraid to share with us, because we're not going to do you any harm. So this is, I think this is our job.
It's because of Chris Hadfield and the astronauts that tweet from space that we have seen this level of excitement. We haven't seen this level of excitement since man walked on the moon. We haven't seen this level of excitement from the public knowledge about space since man walked on the moon. And it's because of things of what Chris Hadfield has done with social media. That's why we get this reaction. And if we can have this level of excitement all the time about all issues about space, then I'm totally up for it. I think it's a really great thing.
Okay, so, I mean, Apollo was immense, but even by the time Apollo 13 came around, they stopped showing it on the media. It was only because there was a disaster, you know, something really bad happening that people became interested. The same with the shuttle. Oh, big, exciting new thing, but when you've done it several times, the media loses interest, people lose interest, and then, you know, again, it was only when the shuttle program either had problems or when it was ending that suddenly there was huge media interest. So if we do end up with lots of very social astronauts, I guess one question is then, how do you maintain that level of excitement? And I suppose a lot of that will be through interaction. But what happens if they become so successful that they, you know, will we have like media teams around them to support them because they're in space to do a job and not just to tweet?
I also want to bring something up because we're talking about Chris Hadfield now and how he probably managed to make something very successful. But I still remember seeing the same kind of pictures coming from Don Putty earlier, and he had his pet zucchini that he was growing. I thought it was really awesome, and it had its own Twitter account, and that was very cool. But apparently it didn't make such a big outreach than Chris Hadfield did. At the same with André Kuipers, he was also sharing pictures, and yeah, I speak Flemish, so that's close to Dutch, and he was posting Dutch messages, and I could even ask him questions, got replies. So to me, what André Kuipers did and what Don Putty did looked very much the same as what Chris Hadfield did, but yeah, what did Chris Hadfield then did more than the other astronauts?
So maybe it was the groundwork, because there was, I mean, Astro Suici was sending back incredible photographs, and Paolo Nespoli, he was great. He was humorous, but then he stopped tweeting when he came home. So I don't know what that magic sauce is. If anyone has ideas, oh, let's go this way.
I recall reading some articles about Chris during his mission, and that he had a plan when he set out that he wanted to successfully use social media to broadcast what they were doing, and I think because his son's in marketing, they worked it through. So clearly there was a strategy that they put in place to do it, and perhaps that needs to be picked up by their astronauts or by the agencies themselves to do it, because the people are right. Other astronauts have done great things in there, and just no one spotted it before.
Yeah, I think a good point that Chris has done. I think he's also slightly riding on the success of the Curiosity launch, which was so awesome that it engaged the entire world. But what I think that Chris did really well was that he engaged people on something they liked, and it is also in space. And in that way, you reach people through something they already like, and it is also in space. So they're like, wait, this is in space, and then you basically have the possibility to create a new convert to space, managing the breaking through the barrier that where you started with, where we preach to the choir.
Without meaning to demean the mass media have a tendency to strip science information to the sense that it's inaccurate and sensationalist, as in, this has happened, we're all going to die. And even though maybe in the future astronauts who tweet and use social media and the like, maybe they won't have the same level of media success like Chris Hadfield has, but they will always have an audience. When you're on social media and you're able to connect with someone else on Twitter or on Facebook or on Pinterest or anything like that, you're always going to have an audience. And if, for me, we can bypass the sensationalism from the mass media and get the message directly from science to the general public without it being stripped of the accuracy, that's something that's a win for me, regardless of whether it has the same level of awareness or success through media. That's still a win for me. Getting communication taught to the general public, getting them to understand what happens in space, that you don't have to be a scientist or an engineer to know what goes on, what happens in space. You don't need to know. You just can, yeah.
As a journalist, I would love to defend the mass media. Unfortunately, I'm not sure I always can. I've worked at a BBC national radio station, and I was helping somebody write a Q for a story about the Large Hadron Collider. And she had all of the information, and she sent it over me to add the questions. And it was a story that we were running it because something else had dropped out, and it was a story about 2 Russian mathematicians had decided that when you switched on the Large Hadron Collider, it could open up a wormhole and we could have time travel and blah, blah, blah. So it was a kind of light-hearted science story. But when I read the Q that this girl had written, she said, 2 Russian mathematicians have built the Large Hadron Collider. And I kind of looked at her and I'm like, you do realise it spans 2 countries and it's longer than the Circle Line. And she was like, oh, never heard of it. So maybe we need to encourage some people not only to go into engineering and space careers, but to get some scientists into journalism, into communication, and definitely into politics. And, well, unless anyone else has anything to say, I think that's probably quite a good note to end on. Let's just get more excited people in more roles.
Just have a quick question because I'm not sure. Are there some hangouts, public hangouts, that have been made from the ISS?
I don't know.
Hangouts?
Like public G+ hangouts on the space station, public ones. They have been a few, have there? Yeah.
I mean, not public, but with people that were invited, people from the public. I mean, people from the general public, like us, or people with even less interest in space, they have been invited to attend these events, and this is something that is growing, because this is a great way to involve many people in this through people with maybe different interests. One of the most popular ones, and I'll take 10 seconds, was the hangout that was done the other day between the ISS and the crew of the new Star Trek movie. I don't know if you've seen that one, but there were astronauts on the ground, astronauts in the ISS, Chris Cassidy, and the actors that played the roles in the new Star Trek movie. That was awesome, and that was very well attended, because again, it's an example of how you engage the public through movies in this case, and these movie actors built the bridge between real space science and Star Trek science, which was really successful. So yeah, you see that, and those experiments are successful, so I'm really hoping that ESA will continue to do similar things.
Sometimes, as you know, NASA is the entity that we have to negotiate with in order to obtain these things. I promise that we are very active and very proactive. We are, of course, what we call the in-flight calls is something that we have used prominently in the past. I still remember the in-flight calls with the Pope. That was great. I love this in-flight call when the Pope at the end, the astronauts, they elevate themselves and the previous Pope laughs as a child. There are marvelous human moments that you can see there. But I think the hangout, you're right, we are going to push a little bit there. No?
Thank you for not being asleep.
Okay, thank you, Kate. If you want to move to other rooms, you can do so now. Here we're going to have the Science Space project from A to F. Mars 2013 simulation on Earth in room B. And how sounds create forms in weightlessness, that's in the buzz room. So please go ahead and move if you need to.
I'll take my computer. On peut mettre du son, j'ai une vidéo. Non, c'est une présentation en ligne.
Okay, hi everybody, I'm Xavier Ouvray, and I'm talking about a space project. And I will describe all phases in the project. So the first step is the identification of needs. So we organize a meeting by agency, by CNES, ESA, to find a new idea, to develop a new satellite, and which goal we want to have. If you want to discover a new planet, new exoplanet, if you want to analyze dark energy, for example. So there is a lot of experts which discuss and find what is a new satellite we can develop. Okay, so this is the phase 0. After that, when we have a goal, we can begin the phase A. The phase A is the feasibility. So we are studying the possibility to make a new satellite. So we are calling a partner over all the world. So you can see that a space project can meet many lands, many partners. Okay. So now I will show you a video of an example of a new mission, like Taranis.
Thousands of thunderstorms are permanently active across the surface of the Earth. Mysterious and spectacular phenomena have been observed above the thunderstorm clouds. Made in the 90s, these discoveries show that the thunderstorms affect not only the lower layer of the atmosphere, but also the upper layers up to the near-space environment. What we need to do now is discover and understand the hidden side of thunderstorms. Taranis, discovering the hidden side of thunderstorms. Observing luminous phenomena above thunderstorms is not easy, as it has to be done from afar, using specifically adapted instruments. The phenomena produced by the thunderstorms are so brief that they cannot be easily detected by the human eye. These phenomena are grouped together under the generic term of transient luminous events, or TLEs. The first TLEs that have been observed are the sprites. They occur at an altitude of between 40 and 90 kilometers, display a complex filament structure, and can be accompanied by a halo or not. A sprite lasts for a few milliseconds. The elves are the highest, the most frequent, and also the briefest of the TLEs. They typically last for 1 millisecond. They occur at an altitude of about 100 kilometers and appear as a rapidly expanding ring of light. The rarest TLEs are the jets. The jets may last up to a few hundred milliseconds. The blue jets project from just above the clouds and propagate to an altitude of 40 or 50 kilometers. On occasions, a jet might reach an altitude of 80 to 90 kilometers, when it is then referred to as a gigantic jet. Observation from space is particularly well suited to studying the hidden side of thunderstorms. The Taranis satellite is therefore dedicated to the study of these luminous phenomena. The mission of the MCP instrument, composed of a group of 4 photometers and 2 microcameras, is to detect, characterize, and systematically localize all the TLEs flown over by the satellite. Apart from the TLEs, the storms give rise to another type of fascinating phenomenon called terrestrial gamma ray flashes, or TGFs. In certain conditions, the storm acts like a particle accelerator. During this process, highly accelerated electrons generate an ultra-short burst of gamma photons of less than a millisecond. Taranis also studies these gamma photon emissions. Installed on board the satellite, the XGRE instrument is an ultra-fast scintillation detector being used for the first time in space. Highly energized runaway electrons would automatically be associated with a TGF. While the photons propagate upwards in a straight line, the electrons travel along the Earth's magnetic field lines. The IDEE instrument identifies these high-energy electrons. Thanks to these detectors, it can distinguish the electrons associated with the TGFs from electrons from the upper atmosphere. When a beam is intercepted, the instrument measures the energy of the electrons and shows where they have come from. Taranis is the first space mission which is completely devoted to the joint study of the transient luminous events and terrestrial gamma ray flashes. A mission in search of the hidden side of thunderstorms.
So it was a short presentation of the next mission Taranis. So it's a good example of a space scientific mission where there are many instruments with many laboratories are working on. Okay. So. So after the phase A, we can begin the phase B. Phase B, we are working on the preliminary definition of all instruments. So it's a main phase because between the phase B, you can stop the project. If you pass the phase B and you begin the phase C, you go to the launch. Okay. So very many activities during phase B. We are making all analysis of safety, feasibility, reliability. We make some drawing. We design the instrument. We make some simulation on thermal mechanics. And we began to make a first prototype. So you can see so this is an example of an instrument of Taranis mission. This is a drawing. On this picture, you can see a mechanical analysis. And here you can see a picture of mass spectrometer analysis for BP Colombo mission. And you see the difference between the prototype on the left and the flying model on the right. So after the phase B, phase C. Phase C, we finish the design of the instrument. So we choose material, we choose a component, electronic component, and we make some other models. We make structural and thermal models, which we can be vibration test, like you see on Gaia. We can do some shock test. We can also make a test on a vacuum, thermal and vacuum test. Okay, and we make also engineering models to test interface between other instrument, analyzer, and to test all functionality. After phase C, if we are the go of the agency of customer, we can begin FastD. Okay, so we can begin to make the real instrument. For the FastD, there are two subparts. The first subpart is to make a qualification model, which we test on it vibration, shock, like on structural thermal models, but on high level to assure that instrument will live after launch. And after it's phase E. Phase E is exploitation or operation. So it concerns all launch. So we have the launch, the deployment of satellite. For some projects, we have the travel to other planets, to the sun, or Lagrange points. And after, we have the real exploitation of all instruments on the payload. And with the station, we recruit all data. And to finish, we have the phase F. F is the end of life of the satellite. So it concerns what we do with the satellite and at the end of the project. So you can we can take him on the trash orbit, or we can deorbit it in Earth. Like on the video. But sometimes the end of the life of the satellite is an error in the project. Thank you for your attention, and a special thank for Marie for the movie. Yes.
I just wanted to say that the whole, sprites and all that thing, that's totally fascinating, and I think it's really amazing. So where in, maybe I just missed it, but where in development is this mission? Is it, there's a concept and...
Taranis mission is a CNES concept.
Okay.
And we are working on. So we are on a phase... on the end of the phase C, and we are waiting the go of CNES to begin the phase D. So we are already make the flight models, and we will test them on satellite next year.
I work in the aerospace industry, but not with space equipment, with aircraft. We use a similar technique you've talked about, as in we have a life cycle of stages that go from the start of a project very through to its disposal. But our life cycle looks different in parts. I was just wondering, are the stages that you've presented here, are those standard for developing space aircraft? Or, I mean, is it something that you do as a company, or is it something that European Space Agency or NASA say you have to do?
Following, this is this is a template of project I present, which we apply on all scientific project in ESA or CNES project, and NASA have the same project too.
If I can just give you a comment on your question, all of these phases are provided inside a set of standards from the ESA organization. The standards are the European Cooperation Standardization for Space. It's a set of documents you can find for free on the internet, and all these different phases are described inside this kind of standards. And you have the similar things on the JAXA or on the NASA organization structures for projects.
Any other questions? No? Then it's a thank you. Thank you. We're going to have a hangout, so a video call, in fact, in about 10 minutes. So if you want to go grab a coffee before it starts, and come back here, everyone in room A in 17:45. Thank you.
Et vous?
Tout le monde est...
Okay, welcome back to the main room. So now we're going to have 2 hangouts, and then it's going to be end of the day before we go to the dinner. So the first hangout, actually we had a 60 seconds to land video to broadcast about it, and then we're going to launch the hangout itself.
Hey guys, I'm here to talk to you about Mars 2013, Mars annual research mission that we, from the Austrian Space Forum, we performed in the Sahara Desert just last February. We spent 4 weeks to test the 2 space simulators led by our group, the Austrian Space Forum. Plus, we had in total 17 experiments, also in cooperation with international partners from different nations in the world. The whole group included more than 100 people involved, coming from 23 countries and 5 continents. As we speak, we're having a science workshop in Vienna to analyze all the data, and this workshop is bringing together all the groups involved. So if you want to know more about what we did, and if you want to discover what came out of our experiments, check our website and follow us on our social media.
Okay, so now we're going to connect with them, so with their workshop directly in Vienna. So let's hope everything is going to work properly. Yeah, maybe I'll do that, yeah. Hello, Olivia. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you can go, Olivia. I think we can hear you.
Perfect. Hello, everybody. My name is Olivia Schneider. I'm in the board of also concept of here.
Okay. So.
Will know also as
Sorry, Olivia. We have some link issue. Maybe we are going to.
Yeah, if I can say something, you should mute your mic here, and then we can hear you much better because of the noise cancellation in Skype. Usually that works.
Okay, we should be
on your laptop. Mute your laptop if you don't talk.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So now, but now she can hear you.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so I'm going to put it on mute, and you should be able to go now.
I'm not alone here. With me is Dr. Gernot Krömer. He is the project lead of Mars 2013. He is also the president of the Austrian Space Forum. And we have our analog astronaut, Luca Foresta.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Good evening.
And we also have Alexander Suchek.
Hello, everybody.
Some of you from last SpaceUp Europe. So
and one of our flight directors.
Yes, one of our flight directors. I want to start with Alexander. Maybe you could say something about Mars 2013.
Yes, okay. Hello, everybody. We are very cozy here together. So I think you got already a little introduction to Mars 2013, at least some of you, by one of our colleagues, Reinhard. Not sure if this is the case, but I assume it is like this. So I don't want to repeat everything now, but let's say the main parameters. What did we do? The good thing is, I know you are as crazy as we here are, so no excuses. We don't have to explain you why we do things, simply because we are freaks and because we love space like you do. By the way, it's very cool to see all of you in the big room A, where in 3 days from now I will sit and pretend to be very formal with all our delegates, and usually there is much less spirit and fun in these rooms since a lot of decisions need to be taken. So I find it just very cool to see a lot of real space freaks around the big table. Mars 2013, yeah, not a couple of years ago, this was all, let's say, that's science fiction even for us, that we do something like this.
It was by far the biggest Mars analog mission we've ever done so far. It was our 10th mission actually, involving more than 100 volunteer researchers, engineers, analog astronauts, involving more than 23 countries. We had a tremendous media response, 17 peer-reviewed scientific experiments, basically all targeting to be 1 month in the northern Sahara of Morocco. And I understand that Reinhard Lustos is with you. He's one of our team members, one of the flight controllers actually for that mission in the Mission Support Center in Innsbruck. So we had to come up with an entire new team of analog astronauts and research experiments. What's the biggest thing we've ever done?
Absolutely, because you might have not listened. We just said 1 month Sahara. And you know what that means in terms of logistics. It's probably not as complicated as Mars one day will be, but it showed us there are a lot of things we need to think about in preparing such a mission. And it's not only fun, it's really, you need to be dedicated over a very long period. To write a tweet is much faster. To prepare something like this really takes a long breath. But we went there, and I think you arrived in the Sahara. How was it when you first arrived there and you were there?
You are in the middle of nowhere. I mean, we're literally, you know, in the middle of the sand in a place called near Erfurt, which is close to the Algerian border, where we had actually a tremendous support from the Moroccan government, which basically made a perimeter of 5 kilometers around our base camp, which nobody was allowed to enter except for the mission itself. But most importantly, you not only have to, you know, transport like 2 tons of delicate space hardware across the Atlas Mountains in a convoy with blue lights and sirens, with a motorcycle escorts, with the police all across the country. First of all, it all starts with the humans and the people behind them. And so we had to find a large team behind it. We had to, you know, train them, make them operational, make them confident to work with standard operating procedures and flow charts. First of all, above all of them, our new class of analog astronauts. And Luca is one of them. He's one of our recently graduates from December last year.
Yeah, exactly.
And you underwent also a special experience.
Well, yeah, together with other fellows, I underwent a specific training to wear the Audax space simulator, and it was quite a tough, challenging, and also rewarding experience to be part of such mission. I mean, to wear such suit, you have to undergo some kind of psychological and physical training, and you need to know how the suit works, how it is safe to operate the suit, and all the electronic elements and so on. And yeah, you have to get used to do things that you would do in normal life in a certain way, in a different way when you wear the suit. You have a limited perception, and so you really have to get used to a completely different situation.
Now, this guy, first of all, he looks really cool. You don't see this. He looks really cool for 2 reasons.
Luca, can you stand up for a second?
Yes.
And,
yeah. Okay. So this is the flight overall. This is of course not the spacesuit he wears. This is the flight overall.
Comfortable one.
Don't mix him with Luca Parmitano, who will go to the space station very soon. This is our Luca, and we are very proud of him, and we will certainly not give him away.
But ESA has requested to use him as a double when Luca returns from space, and they have not enough presentation slots. We're going to sell him.
But this guy not only looks cool, he is also cool, and I mean that in the following sense. He has trained really to be an analog astronaut, and this is probably as far as you can come to have an astronaut experience without being actually a real astronaut. And Luca, a couple of, let's say, years or even months ago, you were not familiar with all of that, but you were interested and fascinated.
Yes.
And here you are. And this is probably also the message to you, because I think all around you here are so fascinated, and everything is possible if you and if we join. And I think we still have 2 or 3 of spare flight suits.
Yep. And we're taking international applications as well. So
maybe I just can cut in. most of you know we have the science workshop here, and we will open up for questions very soon, but I just want to ask Gernot, what's the purpose of the science workshop and what kind of results do you expect?
Okay, thank you. Well, first of all, we have 17 experiments, which means there's been a number of, I would say more than 100 people just working on the science of this mission. They have been compiling the raw data, going into the mission archives. They've been doing, you know, all the post-mission crew interviews. They were going through the geological analysis and so on and so forth. And all those data are now being discussed here in Vienna. This is a 2-day, very intensive workshop where the principal investigators give a first estimation of their first results. They're being discussed, they're challenged. We're having lots of intellectual, very stimulating discussions. What we did good, what went wrong, and what we can do better next time. And we understand just about 10 minutes ago, or 50 minutes ago, we had a first presentation about potential follow-up missions of project which is similar. So now, I think also coming back to the Mars 2030 mission, I think there's a lot of many highlights here with those 3 missions. From a scientific point of view, also from a personal point of view. Like for ourselves, one of the biggest highlights we had, we were in the Sahara Desert. We were not on Mars, but we were not on Earth either. We were somewhere in limbo, and we had 3 overflights of the International Space Station via this miracle working people at the Mission Support Center in Innsbruck, via our colleagues in Canada. We had actually a phone call from Chris Hadfield from the International Space Station just before he took over command there. And it was pretty cool talking from expedition commander to expedition commander, basically saying, what are you guys doing up there, what we are doing on the ground. Basically realizing that what we did on the ground is a sneak preview of how a Martian mission could look like in 20 to 30 years from now.
And it's actually quite fun if you give your own mobile phone number, like it was in my case, and the phone rings in the morning and you pick it up and yeah, this is Chris Hadfield from the ISS. It's like this, you're woken up within a second. But Gernot said something very important, and maybe this is my last contribution as a flight director of that mission. Any Mars mission happens on 2 places, on Mars and on Earth. And you need also a really functioning mission support or mission control center with a lot of people. And for our next missions, which are coming up, we are always looking for people who are dedicated. Not all can be astronauts, some can, but as important as the astronaut are the people behind him. And we hope maybe to see some of you also.
Flight controllers, social media specialists. So by the way, just a 10-second editorial. In October, we're going to run the next mission, probably at the Mars Desert Research Station in Utah. And again, the Mission Control Center will be in Innsbruck in Europe. And we're, Remco is there as well. Oh, did I see Remco somewhere? Remco Timmermans from the World Space Fleet Association. So there's something coming up. We're not totally settled yet. It's still in the planning. But either for October or other projects, we're very much looking forward also to welcome people with a social media background, because we're just discovering now the strength and the push and the force which can be behind social media activities. And that's something we definitely want to utilize, because it's a very direct, a very honest and authentic way to get to people like you out there. And that's very exciting for us here.
Okay, I would say we open up for questions.
If we can get a sound, I think that
we are going to...
Yes, unmute yourself, please.
Yeah, okay. So you hear us now? Yeah, okay. You hear us now?
Yes, we can hear you. Fantastic.
Okay, so we are going to ask the questions in the room, and we are going to maybe say them again on the microphone of the PC. Sorry for that. So, who has a question for our Martian, earthly Martians? Okay. Okay, I have to apologize for the participants here at SpaceUp Paris. I guess it's been a long and tiring day, but still, please...
That excuse does not count in a freak world. There is no long and tiring day, only long days.
But you can also tell us what you did during the day. What were your highlights today, and what is the most fantastic thing for you to see today?
So
We have a question from Joe first.
Okay.
Hi there. I don't know if you can hear me, but anyway, how would the experience in Morocco and Mars, apart from the known things that we know because of the conditions that are different, how would they actually compare in what you did, like going out, doing the walks with the suit and everything, and all the communication delay that you had, and all those things? Maybe too much for a question, but...
Okay, so if I got the question right, the question is how much of a difference do you expect for a real Mars mission as well, and what is the limitations you have in working in the desert environment? Was that correct?
Yes.
Yes. For Reed's question, the audio was not totally perfect. Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, what he said was correct. Okay. What you said was correct. You completely understood the question.
Fine. Well, for working in the space, we probably should ask Luca.
Yeah. Well, working is quite particular. You have to realize that the suit weighs about 40 kilograms, and you have very limited mobility due to the exoskeleton that's inside the suit. We use this to simulate how would be the effect of walking on the surface of Mars due to the difference of pressure between inside and outside of the suit. So after a few hours that you work in the suit, you're really exhausted because every single tiny movement is much more exhausting than in normal daily life. So you have overall you need much more endurance in the suit. You need to be physically trained, but also you have a limited perception of your surrounding due to the size of the suit, due to the ventilation noise in your ear, and due to the fact that you don't have the normal visual field that you're used to. So if you want to see something on the side, you have to shift your total body 90 degrees. So you really have to get used to all these things and move slowly and being quite paying attention to every small step you have to make.
I think working in the desert environment is a challenge for us Europeans in general. I mean, just working, getting up at 7 o'clock in the morning at -2 degrees Celsius, expecting a daily temperature up to 30 degrees plus. The first thing you do in the morning is shake your shoes so that if there's a scorpion inside, it's falling out. And when you enter the sleeping bag in the evening, you want to make sure you are the first life form to enter the sleeping bag. And in the meantime, it's exhaustive. So we did have some sleep deprivation. It is physically strenuous, which we do it beforehand. What we did not really expect to that extent were the Saharan dust storms. We had some severe storms. And this is pretty challenging because working in a dust storm is not only a very interesting human experience, but just imagine that during those dust storms, you have those, billions of grains entering your area, and this little grain then entering that particular super new laser equipment, which is very cutting edge technology, and somewhere we still don't know where, entering the instrument inside and getting into the laser pathway and distorting the image of the laser spectrometer, that in the middle of a dust storm in the Sahara, you have to build a clean room facility inside a tent and open this delicate optical instrument during the dust storm and trying to trace down that little dust speckle, with all your sterile coverings and to really not distort the optics inside. That is quite a challenge. Or things like, cars or quad bikes get stuck in the sand. That's something everybody knows is going to the desert. But, then relieving the air pressure, the tires, and people pushing out the car, and then having 1 or 2 astronauts in a spacesuit helping you to push the car out from the sand trap. That's a quite interesting experience, I have to say. And after all he said, believe me, I mean, I saw it. They came home very dirty, and very sandy. We have here some rock samples and papers that were in Morocco. They're lying all around here, and they're still sandy. Here, for example, something. His overall, that's why I don't touch him. And no, just to finish your question also, how does it compare really to Mars, the site we chose? There are a lot of geological features that in a way resemble features we would expect on Mars. Also the temperature difference, of course, not as extreme, but nevertheless, we have quite a temperature difference between day and night. The remoteness, certainly, but nevertheless, whatever site we choose on Earth, it will be always Earth. And that's also the fascination, by the way, to see you go in the desert, in the middle of the Sahara, you think you're on Mars, but when you really think about it, even the Sahara is full of life compared to another planet. That you learn as well.
Maybe we can also share a screen for a second and show you one or two pictures. I think that pictures tell the entire story, and if everything works out, we should be able to share 5 pictures or so.
For free.
For free. Continue with a free call.
In the meanwhile, Gernot can answer a question by Alex G on Twitter. He asked, ÖWF, flight suits look a lot like Star Trek TNG uniforms. Coincidence?
Well, we had a small design workshop about the, well, actually not from the next generation, but from the Enterprise series. And so some elements might resemble that design, but they're mostly in a very pragmatic approach. Are you seeing now the picture in the Salt Lake in Morocco? Do you see the picture?
Yes, we see it.
Okay, fine. So I will just go through a few pictures very, very quickly. Things like, I mean, standing in a spacesuit in the middle of the desert by itself is a beautiful combination of this vast Tetrades borealis feeling. You know, this wide and empty spaces crammed with high tech. That's quite a picture itself. What you see here, this is not Photoshopped. On the left side, you see a picture taken, I think, on the 15th of February in Morocco, right after a dust storm. That's the reason why the sky looks so grayish and brownish. And on the right side, the picture was taken in Gale Crater just a week before by the Mars Science Laboratory. So you see it's really, really close in terms of resembling the Martian surface. So you really could imagine standing on Mars. We had to create our own equipment, like not just the spacesuits, but even things like operational consoles to be taken into the desert. It looks like a cheap version of Transformers 2 or so, but what you see is a white box which you can extend into an operation console, for example, which we produced together with an Austrian company. Lots of field training. So we have here one of our analog astronauts, Christoph Couch, with the training version of the spacesuit gloves in Italy, going for a geological field training. And of course, this beauty of the night sky. I could show you now, there are movies of nighttime time-lapse movies where you see the ISS flying over, where you see our station, our Camp Weibrecht, basically in the middle of the desert. A short glimpse into the mission support center,
which was, of course, also quite, let's say, complex. And you look here into the heart of the mission control center, flight control. Now, I always told our visitors, it may not exactly look like NASA Houston, but the only real difference is that in Houston, the walls are painted black, and in Innsbruck, they're painted white. For the rest, you have stations that are very, very similar. You have procedures that are very similar, and it's very complex to communicate with people who are thousands of kilometers away, and you have a time delay in communicating of 10 minutes. And here we look now into the field, and you must think that what I just said is for 10 minutes on the way to Morocco, and their answer will come 10 minutes back. Imagine you're sitting in a coffee shop or whatever for a beer with a friend, and you ask him a question. Oh yes, you Twitter something, and only 20 minutes later, that's for our Web 2.0, 3.0 generation, unbelievable. 20 minutes later, you get an answer, perhaps.
If he's fast. Yeah. Exactly. So lots of experiments, robotic vehicles. So we are far beyond the discussion whether to send humans or robots to Mars. We say send them both. They both have their distinctive advantages, and they are very complementary in what they're doing. Even sometimes they are operating all together, like here the Cliff Reconnaissance Vehicle, coming from the very country you're sitting in right now, built by a team around Alain Souchier from the Association Planète Mars. And they are being operated by a human which is rolling down this machinery down the cliff.
And you see here, such a mission is also kind of an experimental field where you can introduce creative ideas. Whatever you have, if there's something behind it, and if you build it, and if you're behind it, it can fly, it can go to Mars, and that's the value of such a mission.
Go to Mars or roll on Mars with very unusual wheels. These are not real wheels, these are legs, a mixture between wheels and legs, which is the entry from the Google Lunar X Prize from our colleagues from Hungary. The Pudi rover, which is also able to do stair climbing inside buildings, for example, but of course it's scheduled to launch for the moon. Or architectural students working with us in the deployable shelter, which is a thing with the size of a truck wheel, basically, which is an inflatable emergency shelter with inflatable furniture in the inside, including some electrics, so that it can survive one night on Mars in case of an emergency. Or this is together with our colleagues from Hungary, an advanced weather monitoring station with lots of add-on capabilities you usually don't have in a weather station. The Hanweir 4, which has been also deployed in the Saharan Desert. And last picture, what looks like CSI Mars. This is quite similar, which is a simulation how clean can you take samples. This is an experiment called micro-EVA together with NASA Jet Propulsion Laboratory, where we investigate how can we preserve the pristinity of the very samples we are investigating for traces of life.
And I would like to draw your attention to the star of our mission. That's not the guy in white, that's the silver space suit. That is AUDA. And AUDA is one of the most advanced analog spacesuits. Here you see it a bit better. That has been built over several years, bit by bit, by very, very enthusiastic and very good, very skilled professional people, students, professionals from the space world, outsiders. And AUDA X, our expedition suit, is today among the, I think we can say, among the best, because most advanced analog spacesuits.
Sorry, we have a short message from Alex. Okay.
Yes, go ahead. That is a very serious question, and the honest answer is we don't know yet. We don't know yet. We have to ignore all bushes, camels, and the indigenous people. We have to ignore the people. They are dying for bones, not allowed to look. We do have a good idea that we found fluvial structures, so we're pretty sure there was water, which we now also know from Mars, but we have not found any definitive evidence for life. There are some indications which are compatible, but this is exactly what analog research is about. We're going to a very well characterized area using only the instrumentation we have at hand, which we would bring to Mars, and then basically draw our conclusions. And then afterwards, it was quite a magical moment this afternoon, and then relieve the blinding of our researchers and say, now here's the ground truth of like 50 years of geological research in Morocco. And then we say, oh my gosh, we just should have gone around the corner and found something more interesting. So we are trying to get a sense for the completeness of our sampling and our workflows. This is a very important part of our work here.
Since you said it's not a serious question, you got a serious answer. But there's also a less serious answer. They found a spider, and they were quite afraid of it. And they sent us to mission. Yeah, it was such a spider. And they sent us to mission control a photo, and we had the task to find out what spider it was. One day, and we found it out, and we gave them the information. Okay. Anyway, we found also spider mission control. We asked them what spider it was. We never got an answer.
Yeah, on behalf of all participants here, thank you a lot for your time, guys. And thank you for your message. And so, bye-bye.
Bye, guys. Greetings to Paris.
Okay.
So now we're going to have our second and last hangout of the day with guys who are in another location completely. So we were with Vienna in Austria, and now we're going to link with Tucson in Arizona with SpaceFest 5. So we may have, we may catch a glimpse of some persons who are a bit known.
Dans 2 minutes, parce qu'il faut encore que je passe la vidéo. Forcément, tu sais quoi, je vais aller directement là. Ah non, ça ne marchera pas. Regarde, la vidéo passe pas correctement. Tu peux mettre la vidéo dans le trou? Bah non, t'es pas sur celui-ci. Enfin, je vais plus se prendre celui-là. Ok.
Actually, we have a short introduction with a short glimpse of SpaceFest 4, and then, and then we'll have a link up with SpaceFest 5.
Hey, good morning. I'm Wally Beck. I'm here at SpaceUp 4. It's a wonderful time run by great people, and the best part of it all is you get to meet astronauts. And that's why I'm here, because it's our time to meet our astronauts and pay back for all the things that they've done for us, and to get some autographs and see some great paintings. So come on by to Space Fest next time it's on door.
Hi, I'm Mike Blaine, and I'm at Space Fest. You should be here too.
I'm Richard Hatch, actor Richard Hatch. I'm the Survivor guy. I'm Battlestar Galactica, both old and new, and I am here at Space Fest, and I have been at the last 4. This is one of the most amazing shows to be able to hang out with the astronauts, with the test pilots, with the civilian and military space programs, and find out where we're going to go in the next 20, 50, 100 years. It's the most amazing experience of my life. I'm so happy to be here.
Okay, and now we're going to try to connect with Nick Oz, who is over there, and with other space trips, and with a guest speaker from there also.
Greetings! Is that SpaceUp Paris?
Yes, this is SpaceUp Paris.
It's fantastic. So I must say, bonjour tout le monde dans la belle France. C'est Tucson, Arizona ici. Space Fest 2013. And I'm very excited to be connecting with you. And I've visited beautiful Paris many times. In fact, my parents used to live in Paris when they were young. So I have learned a little bit of your beautiful language, but I need to practice some more.
So can we see all the space tweets?
Oh, yes, please.
Can we see all the guys?
Oh,
okay.
Sorry if we've interfered with your... Oh, fantastic. So we also have a wonderful group of space tweeps here, and of course, a marvelous group of astronauts and space program enthusiasts, and I couldn't be happier than being connected to Paris at this moment. And we've just found out my friend Sawyer, who is the NASA man on Twitter and does a wonderful show called Talking Space, just told me that it's National Geek Day in the United States. So, a Geek Pride Day. All right, geek pride, solidarity, comrades. So that's excellent timing. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about my work and what's going on here at Space Fest, if that's okay, with our friends in Paris. Okay. So my name's Gary Notkin. I am one of the two hosts of Meteorite Men, the television series, and we have done. Oh, I saw some smiles there. That's a good sign. Well, thank you. So I hope some of you have seen the television show. We've made 3 seasons. We have traveled 120,000 miles around the world and found meteorites on 4 continents so far. And I am a guest speaker here at Space Fest 2013. And I have brought with me a display of meteorites. I thought I might show you a couple of them. If we call this one the hitchhiker, so because it looks like he has a thumb, trying to catch a ride. That would be actually we should have used this on the poster for Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. That would have been perfect, wouldn't it? I didn't think about that. So in addition to being a television host, I am a science writer, and I am the owner of Aerolite Meteorites, which is a commercial company. And we supply meteorite specimens to collectors and universities and museums all around the world. Brought a couple of things to show you. This is one of my prized possessions. It is actually a slice of La Lune. It was found in Northwest Africa, and it is believed to have originated in the lunar highlands very close to the landing site of Apollo 16. So it's the first time we've recovered a meteorite from the moon, and we can pinpoint its origin, its location. So, are we getting some questions coming in?
Damien, have we got time? Have we got questions from the Space Tweep community?
I hope so. And my French is a little rusty. Rouillé, il faut pratiquer.
No, but
so we should probably have.
The official language is English.
Okay.
Well, that's lucky for me.
There's Brigitte. Hello, Brigitte.
Hello, Brigitte. Nice to see you from 8,000 miles away.
Same here.
We're feeling very modern at the moment.
So, if there are questions, if you can use the microphone, or if people want to type them, you can type the questions into the Skype chat box. We can also check, because the sound is, we've got a lot of very noisy sound background here.
Yeah, you know those astronauts, very noisy.
Very noisy, yeah.
Oh, sorry, that was the space tweets making all the noise. I do beg your pardon. And I'd like to give a special mention to Aiko and Alex and Leo, who are right here and are waving to all of you. So we have some of your wonderful European colleagues here with us, keeping an eye on things. And I know that they were founding members of SpaceUp. So they're I'm sorry?
SpaceUp Europe.
SpaceUp Europe. Well, that's the most important one, right? SpaceUp Europe. I mean, what more do you need? So I'm gonna show a few more meteorites and tell a few more stories while we're waiting to see if there are any questions. I'm sure you all remember vividly the event that took place in Russia, February 15th, the enormous meteorite impact over the city of Chelyabinsk. Here is one of them. Some of my Russian colleagues recovered some freshly fallen pieces and sent them over to us, and they are beautiful stones. They're as black as anything. Ah, caillou noir, a black stone. My French is coming back to me. You know what they say, you spend a few days speaking with your French friends in Paris, and the language comes back. So that's one of our exciting acquisitions. And I should mention, for those who are interested, that my autobiography was published a few months ago, and it is very modestly titled Rockstar, Adventures of a Meteorite Man. And those of you who know the television show may not know that I am also a rock and roll musician. So I felt it was important to make a little joke in the title.
So on Sunday night here, we have a band a live music concert. And on drums, possibly, hopefully, will be Jeff Notkin.
There's no possibly about it. It's definitely going to happen.
On keyboards, Brian Cox.
Bravo.
On bass guitar, Andrew Chaikin. And if you know Andrew's work, he was a big advisor on like a lot of the Apollo stuff. He's one of the world experts on Apollo.
And his book was the source material for From the Earth to the Moon, the wonderful television show. And who else have we got? There's a very famous British astronomer named Nick Howes, who's going to be playing guitar. And oh look, he's just dropped in for a moment. So we're running a contest to come up with a name for the band.
Yes. So if the Space Tweet community in Paris would like to suggest a name for the band tomorrow, we will use that as a hashtag for the concert.
And the winning name, whoever comes up with best name, will receive a signed copy of Rockstar, mailed directly to them from the USA, and then you'll be able to learn about my rock and roll history, which is only slightly embarrassing. We only told the, as we say in the States, the PG-rated stories, meaning suitable for all audiences. So I talk a little bit about Space Fest. This is the 5th Space Fest extravaganza. We are here in the small city of Tucson, Arizona, which is, we're about 100 kilometers north of the Mexican border, so almost as far southwest as you can go in the United States. We have 15 NASA astronauts here, and I think Nick is going to do a little walk around later with this laptop. So we're hoping to get some waves from Alan Bean and Fred Hayes and Scott Carpenter and the rest of our great adventurers and explorers who are here. And Professor Brian Cox is here, and Andy Chaikin, Carolyn Porco, some of the great luminaries in the space program. We've mostly got Americans here, but we've got a few welcome additions from Europe as well.
And Australians.
Australians are here en masse, as they say. And there's nothing like having some Australians at an event to liven it up. They certainly bring some good humor with them.
And lots of good drinking.
Oh, well, that's not true. Only a very small amount. We're all here to work.
Yes.
So, do we have any questions from our friends in Paris?
Okay, so I am unmuting the PC and I'm going to ask.
Excellent. Merci beaucoup, monsieur.
So, does anyone have a question for Geoff Notkin? Okay.
We've got a very prestigious live audience here. If we turned our camera around, you'd see will we?
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, you'll get to see some of your Space Tweet colleagues in the States in a few minutes.
Yeah, we do have, it seems, at least two questions.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Yeah, do you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, cool. So you are a rock star. You wrote the book. You have the company. You're a rich guy. Can you provide me the full scholarship for my study?
You're a rich guy. Can you help him with his studies?
Oh, I wish I was rich. And I should probably take this opportunity to say, if you think that being a meteorite hunter is a really good profession and that you'll be man and live in a nice mansion in Beverly Hills, think again. It seemed like a very good idea when I was a young man. And I discovered that not only is it very difficult to find meteorites, but by the time we've flown to Australia or Chile or Russia or wherever we're going and absorbed the costs of the expedition, and then, strangely enough, it always seems that the meteorites have fallen on someone else's land, not actually on in my small garden, which is what I keep hoping for. So I'm sure you're aware that usually, according to international law, meteorites belong to the owner of the property where they fell. So, at the end of the expedition, after we found something wonderful, we usually have to give a large percentage of it to the landowners, and in some cases, all of it. We did embark upon some expeditions where we had very special permission to search for meteorites on land that was normally closed to hunting.
So
on the understanding that at the end of the adventure, we would donate everything that we found to the local university. And we thought, well, that's fine. when we were hunting in Poland during the 3rd season of Meteorite Men, we found an enormous iron meteorite, 2 meters below the surface. And because it was located in a national preserve, we were not allowed to bring any mechanical equipment with us. So we spent about an hour finding the meteorite, and then we spent 3 days digging it out by hand. And we estimated that it was worth approximately 30,000 euros, and we gave it to the university because they were very nice to us. So there goes my wealth. That's my story. My wealth that I would have accumulated from all these meteorites went mostly to the universities, which shows that I truly love my work.
Okay, I think we've got time for one more question, because then we're going to do Jeff's obviously got a very busy schedule as well, and we're going to do this walk around with the Apollo guys, and I know you guys have got limited time. So have you got one more question?
Yes, there was another question? Or there was no other question? Yeah, okay. Okay, so Jeff, I think we do not have any more questions.
No, not anymore? Okay, well, I'll just let Jeff say a final word then.
All right. Well, I must tell you all that I consider France to be one of the most beautiful countries in the world, and I visited many times. And even though I'm 8,000 miles away in the desert, surrounded by cactus and astronauts, there is always a very fond place in my heart for France, and especially for Paris. So everyone here at Space Fest sends our warmest wishes to SpaceUp Europe. Thank you so much for connecting with us. This is a very exciting start to our Saturday. And it's only 9:30 in the morning here in the Wild West, so we still have a full day ahead of us. So I shall say merci beaucoup. À bientôt tout le monde.
Thank you. Right, we're going to do a little walk around now. So I'll just show you some people you may know. Hey. Okay, hold on. So there you go. So we've got Aiko and Alex and Sawyer, the NASA man, and little Leo's here, Petra's here, Jane MacArthur, Johnny Mojo. We've got.
Sawyer on the head. I'm so sorry.
Johnny. And we've got a little message. We've got a little message for all you guys in Paris.
Can you see it?
So space hugs to everybody.
Yeah.
Okay, right, we're going to go for a little walkabout. So I'm gonna just show you a bit of the show. Hey, huggy, cool. Yeah. So we've got loads and loads of photographs here and art. We've got art exhibitions. Let me just walk you over to the art exhibition. So we've got original paintings from Alan Bean, Lucy West, Kim Port, all sorts of amazing, amazing people. We've got Michael Collins. Michael Collins you may know as the command module pilot for Apollo 11. So we've got a selection of his paintings here that he uses. Okay, so I'm going to give you a tour of like some of the stands. So we've got Alan Bean. We've got Dick Gordon.
Brian Cox.
We've got Edgar Mitchell. We're live to Paris, the European Space Agency headquarters.
They're live to Paris, the European Space Station.
Oh yeah, okay. So there we go. So that's Edgar Mitchell. See you later. We got Scott Carpenter from the Mercury program. We're live to Paris. Let me do some more. Show out. We've got loads of people. Glenn Lenny, who is one of the flight directors on the Apollo program. Jerry Ross. I mean, it's just incredible. Bruce isn't here yet. Oh, hi, Bruce. No, Bruce McCandless. We're live to Paris, the European Space Agency headquarters.
Yeah.
So, Bruce McCandless, probably one of the most famous photographs in Apollo or in Scotland. Cool. Thank you very much.
Arizona.
How are you? Cool. Excellent. We've got Charles Walker.
I'm here. Good day.
So we're live to the European Space Agency in Paris. This is
ESA. Great things. You're continuing to work with the space station, supporting it, supplying it. Another ATV coming up soon, and beyond that, Continue to support the Orion project. We'll do great things, Europe and America in space with Orion and beyond.
Cool. Thank you very much.
My
Thank
pleasure.
you. Thank you. With the signing, but Vance Brand from the Skylab missions, and obviously key on the Apollo as well. We're live to the European Space Agency in Paris.
I'm sorry?
We're doing a live link to the European Space Agency in Paris.
Oh, really?
So, yeah. Do you want to say hello?
Hi there.
That's Vance. Well, thank you. Jack's. Right, so I've got a real special treat for you guys now. I mean, off the scale special. This guy is amazing. You've probably all seen the film Apollo 13, very, very famous film, and you're obviously all big shuttle fans as well, so I'll just let this guy, who really needs no introduction, but this is Fred Hayes.
All right, who am I speaking
This
to
is the European
today?
Space Agency in Paris, headquarters.
Okay, well, what is this, like a control room or something?
It's a group of space enthusiasts, and
Oh, okay.
so it's a big conference like here, so.
Oh, I see. Okay, so this yeah. Okay, how you doing? I see you waving, and what is this creature that somebody placed on the table?
Oh, those guys know that one, so it's a little space nested.
Okay, this is a space mascot.
But there we go.
All right.
We thought, thanks, Fred. Thanks.
Oh.
Okay, that's brilliant. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. Okay, you enjoying this so far? Okay, we've got another special guy. So again, if you've seen the film Apollo 13, and he's not happy about the guy's hair in the movie, but if you remember in Apollo 13, there was a guy wearing glasses who was bald, who basically said, I'll get back to your flight on this, and he was the man instrumental in basically saving the mission. And he's right here with me now.
Are you taping this so we can
This
get
is
a
live.
transcript?
And this is Cy Liebergo.
Liebergott.
Liebergott, sorry.
Where's your German? You did French, that's what you did.
Anyway, so Cy's here, and he gave one of the best talks at Space Fest so far yesterday.
Oh, I see the guys. Is that Paris?
This
now?
is Paris. This is ESA headquarters.
Oh,
yeah.
I love Paris.
So
I
there we go.
love eating and drinking. Eating and drinking is what you do. Oh my God. Now, what is this meeting that's doing?
This is a big space enthusiast meeting that they have in
Oh,
Europe.
space geeks, we call them. Well, welcome. Pretty important to us guys that you guys are keeping the flame alive, so, as we say. And thanks for doing that.
And Cy's got a great book as well, if you want to.
By the way, the book has got a CD in it, which has got all 4 hours of the Apollo 13 emergency, all the voice loops I had activated on my console.
Nice
so
one.
you can relive it.
And trust me, you've got the talk was just incredible. Anyway, I know we're short on time now.
Yes. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Cy. Thank you very much. Ed Gibson from Skylab. We're live to Paris, ESA headquarters.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so there's Ed, one of the 50 space geeks in Paris. So
yeah, that's great.
Amazing work on the Skylab missions, and just in here. Anyway,
Well, good. We're glad you're here. And I worked at ESA for a year and really enjoyed it.
Good. How you doing?
I consulted to them for many years after that on when they put together Space Lab. And I had a lot of friends over there, and I really respect the work that they did.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay,
I'd like to say hello.
another really special guest here now. This is Apollo 7's Walt Cunningham. So we're live to ESA headquarters in Paris to a load of space enthusiasts.
Well, I hope that it's not too late in the afternoon for you out there. We just got here and we're enjoying the company. Some of my friends from 50 years ago and new friends that are here to talk with us and get autographs and the like. So it's been a lot of fun. And I saw you waving there.
Brilliant. Thanks. Thank you, Walt. Thank you very much. Okay, let the fun continue. Okay, now we've got, here you'll see some of our group. So we've got Jim McDivitt from Apollo 9. Hi.
Sorry.
What are we doing
This
here?
is live to the European Space Agency in
What am I
Paris.
doing in
Bad
things?
Oh no.
So we just thought we'd say hi to everyone here.
Oh yes, that's so brilliant.
Okay, cool. Okay, a bit more. Dave Scott from Apollo 15. One of my favorite. Oh, sorry, I'm so sorry. One of my favorite missions. He's busy with people at the moment. Well done. And we're going to try and find. Oh, we've got an amazing one here now. If we can just grab. We're live in Teresa headquarters. Let me just say hi to Professor Brian Cox.
Hello. Hello, Isa, and talking to Al Bean as it happens.
Yeah, and we're right here with Alan Bean.
How are you? Who's listening?
This is European Space Agency headquarters in Paris.
Oh my goodness. Well, hello over there. I hope you got a lot of business. We're having a pretty good time here, reliving the great days of Apollo, the golden age of space flight. It's up to you guys to build a new golden age. We did our part. You got to figure out how to do yours.
Thanks, guys. Oh, go on.
Yeah, I'm doing my best also to persuade European governments to invest in a manned Mars mission.
Excellent.
So there we are.
Cheers, thanks, Brian. Thank you. So that's the kind of place this is. All I can say, guys, you've got to be here next year, okay? You've just got to be here next year. So just to finish off quickly, we got Dick Gordon. Alvin, this is European Space Agency headquarters, Dick.
What is that?
This is ESA in Paris. So we're live, linking up to European Space Agency.
What is going on there?
There's a big space conference of like space enthusiasts. And
Well, I see people waving at me. Are they waving at me?
Yeah, they are. Do you want to wave back?
Good luck on your conference in space, about space, for space. Good luck.
Okay, and just as a kind of finish off now, Space Fest wouldn't happen without some really key people here, and I'm really fortunate to have one of them with me here. So we've got Kim and Sally Poor. This is Sally.
Yes.
And Sally Poor.
Hello.
And this is a lady and her wonderful, wonderful husband who organises this event, and it's just. And he's right here. Kim's right here.
Yeah.
So, I don't know what you're doing for time. Yeah, we've got about 30 seconds, I know. But we're live to the European Space Agency headquarters. There's a conference like this going on over there, but not even the same league.
Oh, we'll bring them all next year.
We're going to bring all you guys. You guys are coming here next year.
We look forward to seeing you. Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to say goodbye from Tucson, Arizona, and thank you guys for the link up.
Yeah, and on behalf of the whole participants of SpaceUp Paris, thank you, Nick, for organizing the link up with us.
Hope you enjoyed it. Au revoir.
So this concludes our day. So we hope you had a great day today. It's not yet finished because we're going now to go to the restaurant. So basically what's the program? So, at least those who are coming to the restaurant will meet in front of ESA outside. And then we will go all to walk the 15 to 20 minutes to get there. Tomorrow morning, just for tomorrow morning, you can be here. You will have someone at the reception to welcome you from 9 a.m., 9 in the morning, and we will begin at 9:30. So please plan to be here before 9:30. Okay, so let's go to dinner. It's a bit early, but we'll have a nice walk to get there, and we will get hungry during the walk. Thank you.